Welcome back. Christchurch's air quality has been a hot issue over the past year, with new rules banning the use of many old-styled log burners. But as Marcus Irvine discovered, the push for cleaner air may have received an unexpected boost, all thanks to last month's quake.
People whose chimneys have been significantly damaged by the quake can choose to replace their old log burners or open fires with a new efficient heater like a heat pump, and it won't cost them a thing.
The government has organised with the Earthquake Commission that when your house has a chimney that has been damaged through the earthquake, you can trade off getting the chimney rebuilt by getting a clean heat device. And it's really around that premise of building things better than they were when you started off.
And this is great news for many homeowners.
Yeah, I am keen to have it done. I think it's a great idea.
But it's not just homeowners who are happy. Environment Canterbury says after a positive response to this year's open fire regulations, the new chimney replacement program will help air quality even more.
We support the initiative that's going ahead. We've been working alongside ECA to help with the establishment of that program.
Heat pump sellers are also expecting an influx of customers wanting to revamp their heating.
We're expecting quite a large number of installs as a result, but as yet we're still just waiting for final sign-off from ECA on how it's all going to work.
So what should you do if you've got a damaged chimney and need new heating?
ECA has a call centre, and the call centre is currently going through the process of ringing people at the moment. So you don't actually have to do anything. If you've made your claim, at some stage in the next wee while you're going to get that call to organise the work to happen.
So it seems it's good news for some homeowners and hopefully a breath of fresh air for all Cantabrians. Marcus Irvine, Metro News.
One Christchurch school's been fundraising for months to send their orchestra and jazz students to Europe next year for a series of 6 concerts. But as Jonathan Mitchell reports, the future of the tour is now in doubt.
While these jazz students are in tune, it seems their fundraising has skipped a beat. Linwood College is hoping to send 80 staff and students to perform a series of 6 concerts in Europe next year, but it seems the recent earthquake has put this plan in jeopardy.
And we're now about $50,000 short of that target instead of the 15 that we were hoping to be at this stage.
The quake's delayed the process of getting businesses to come on board, so the target of $150,000 by December seems a long way away, but they're not letting it get them down.
We're going ahead with planning, although the earthquake has caused some difficulties, but planning is still on schedule, and we have accommodation booked, we have travel booked, we have concert venues and dates throughout the tour. We're performing in each of the 6 cities that we're visiting.
But this planning could all be for nothing if they don't get the money they need, a thought which has prompted the students to work even harder.
I have a part-time job, so I've been working really hard trying to make all the money I can to, get over there and do other stuff afterwards and have spending money.
I've helped with delivering. We delivered Yellow Pages as a big fundraiser, and selling. We've got a calendar that we're selling as well.
And giving up simply isn't an option.
As soon as we give up hope, we lose the battle. So no, we certainly haven't given up hope, and people are working even harder.
So despite the shaky fundraising, the chance to perform on the European stage is not one these musicians are going to give up easily. Jonathan Mitchell, Metro News.
Tomorrow, the newly formed City Council will be electing its Deputy Mayor. One of the frontrunners is Chrissy Williams, in the past a noted critic of Bob Parker. She spoke to Marcus Irvine about some of the key issues facing our new council.
So you're standing for Deputy Mayor. How confident are you that you've got the numbers?
I'm putting my name in the hat for Deputy Mayor. There's still 2 or 3 days to go before the inaugural meeting. I think it's going to be split pretty evenly.
So how many others are going for Deputy Mayor?
Well, the only one I know of is Nari Button, but again, anything could happen between now and Friday.
Obviously, Bob Parker's been re-elected as Mayor, and he was criticised beforehand. One of the main criticisms was his behind closed doors approach. How will you make a more open and accountable council?
Well, I've been saying for 3 years that I think we need to be more open, have more meetings in the open, have our workshops advertised and in the open. And through our campaign we talked about having standing committees because they are key to opening up council processes, both for councillors but also for the community.
So you mentioned standing committees, what exactly are they?
Well, they're like any committee, but a standing committee for council means ones that set up at the beginning of the term and last for the term, compared with a temporary committee that might be set up to look at some particular issue.
So what is the standing committee in essence? Why are they good to have?
We've had one in the last term, and that was regulatory and planning, and it means that topics come to councillors 3 weeks before they go to a council meeting, so there's an opportunity to read that earlier than you normally would, to discuss, to debate in much more depth. There's some pre-thinking and pre-discussion around each issue before it gets to council.
Standing committees were not around. You mentioned 6 years ago they were gotten rid of. Was that right?
Yeah. When Gary Moore was in his last term of mayor, he replaced standing committees with portfolio groups. But I was missed out on my seat in that term, and I found it very difficult to sort of get to their meetings to understand what they were doing, what their terms of reference were. So I think standing committee gives certainty. They weren't reinstated in Bob's first term, and I'm hoping that there's enough numbers around the table to get them back this term.
Do you think Bob will be possibly in support of standing committees after he's had this criticism of his behind closed doors approach? Do you think he'll want to sort of rectify that possibly? I'm
not sure he's supportive of them. I think it means he has to share some of the power, but it also he thinks it puts extra workload on staff. I don't think it does, because they're still preparing the same reports. They're just preparing them for a different committee, and the write-up of the committee is not a huge task. So, but the biggest thing for me is that it gives a number of councillors more involvement in decision making and discussion.
So as a new council, what is the main change you think the council should make?
Well, as we've talked about, the openness and having more meetings open to the public, but I think that the big thing that's going to be the focus of our minds for the next year at least is the recovery from the earthquake, and for me it's making sure that the communities are really involved in that discussion, particularly the badly affected communities.
So what do you think, what role do you think the council should be playing with earthquake recovery at this point?
Well, obviously we've got an integral role with the government in deciding how land is rehabilitated, which land is rehabilitated. I think we also should be asking, even though it's possible we can build on a lot of that land, we need to ask the question, should we? Are there other risks that accumulate on those lands that make it perhaps silly to rebuild there? And then, as I've said, we need to somehow engage with the community so we can have a shared vision of what their communities will look like, particularly if we're having to rebuild quite large neighbourhoods.
Chris Williams, thank you very much for your time.
Coming up after the break, the worrying trend for some mothers and babies. And the rhythmic gymnast going for gold.